What's up, guys? In this video, I want to talk about narcissism, toxic family systems, enmeshment, basically the whole dealio. As far as dealio, I just said dealio. Yeah, and my experience and what I've learned, and hopefully you get some value out of this video. But yeah, you clicked on it. We're going to talk about narcissism. We're going to talk about enmeshment. We're going to talk about this stuff. I'm someone in a position I recently had to go no contact with my mother, my father, and my sister, who I've been fighting with my entire life, and it's been just absolutely dog eat dog, selfish, abusive, and you don't know what you don't know, i.e. if, you know, as a child, you don't know, you can't, it's, you know, I can see there's signs of me knowing, not knowing there's something wrong, but I went to, you know, I got interested in psychology when I was like 12 years old. And I saw the movie A Beautiful Mind, and that was the first movie in 2001, I think it was, so I was 12 or 13, and I remember, like, it's just, it gave me an idea of, like, the idea of psychology and where things might be wrong in my own mind, and things might be wrong, and not that I'm comparing myself to Nash or anything, I don't, you know, but car accident, but yeah, I see a lot of, you know, I was always trying to, you know, my family was so immature, they never grew up, and so I had to try, and I was constantly trying to, like, make things better whenever there's, like, a lot of, like, really bad, like, fighting and stuff, like, and it was always a tug of war, and so I was, like, forced into looking into psychology, and just, like, it was just on the surface, but I know now, looking back, that it was a way to cope, you know, and I don't want to turn this video into another video vlog. I want to kind of try and create more value here, and just talk about, number one, how unbelievably difficult it is to go no contact. I had to do it at the worst time of my life, and it's a very personal decision. It doesn't have to be forever, but you have to protect yourself. Like, I mean, I had to do this all at once, out of necessity, and here's the biggest strength you can ever have if you have a family that's just so toxic, is, number one, if they're a narcissist, breaking the enmeshment, looking into videos about it, and understanding what is happening, what is your you know, I guess some people call it Wi-Fi. You have this, like, trauma bond with your own family, and the strongest thing you can do is to break that. And I think the best way to do it is to focus on yourself. If you're in a relationship, look at the relationship. You know, like, is it a trauma bond? Is it something that is, you know, are you self-soothing with that person, i.e. reliving, you know, your trauma through that person? And if you are, it's not easy, but it needs to end, you know? Like, the only way you can really do it and do the work is to be alone. And that's my opinion, and that's what I learned. And then from there, you can build personal autonomy and be happy with yourself. As long as you have that people pleasing, or that idea that you know your parents are going to change, you remain stuck for the rest of your life. And I think it can be absolutely detrimental. It can be so much harder if they end up passing away before you've actually done the work, because it can be a very slippery slope and be an excuse to to not do the work. It's like the anger, you have from that. And regardless, it's and then the notion that you think you could maybe have had closure, like if they're still around, it's like, oh, maybe eventually. It's so much easier to get stuck in that. They aren't going to change. You have to get that through your mind. It's not up to you. And it's crazy. It's so hard for the mind to, and for, like, as a child, like, growing up with that, every single direction is telling you that, and just as a human being, you can't, it's so hard for the psyche to understand that you were never loved. Like, we need love so much. I mean, we die without it. Like, and so if you're in a narcissistic family system, I guarantee you were enmeshed, and it was not unconditional. There was conditions of love, which is not love, and there was the tug of war of attention and trauma and gaslighting and all this stuff. And that's their power. That's what they didn't get it, Their parents didn't give it to them either. If you're my age, you had boomer parents. All the boomers have so many boomers have this issue where they had, like, they grew up in these households. They grew up in this country where, like, it was everything to make a piece of shit, basically. You got parents that were not emotionally intelligent, that raised our parents to have these toxic traits. And then, of course, we're the generation that can break the cycle. I am so confident, and I think we're doing it, where our trauma is manifesting in a whole different thing with the anxiety. But, like, with anxiety, you can create change. With this shit, you can create change. We have these tools now, and it's a choice. We can make the choice to break this goddamn curse. And I'm hopeful. I think that's one of the best things about the millennials is our emotional intelligence. I talked about this in another video, but yeah, and that's one of the stronger things too, to be able to empathize, not just, I know for me personally, had a kind of a narcissism that was protective in a way that I was delusional to anyone, because if I could block out my parents being bad, and being delusional about them, right? And not accepting that they are toxic and bad for me. That's what I was blocking. Therefore, I would block out everyone else in society. I always saw the good. I could never see the bad, especially if it was narcissism. Those people, the more they were like my parents, the more they were like, people I knew growing up, the more the blinders were on. So I hope I'm not yelling too much, but so that just creates a whole nother can of worms. And let me get back to my point here, is until you do the work, you're gonna continue to be, you're gonna continue to have, be repeating the cycle. It is so crazy. It's so crazy now in the society where we're, there's such a thin line between being, doing this and trying to help someone and trying to, doing it in a way that's healthy, and being a complete narcissist. And to the extent that you had parents like that and you have these insecurities, you're going to lean, I did it. I leaned into the selfishness, the narcissism, these shallow, distractions that are temporary. And yeah, we have a lot at stake here. Not to be too hyperbolic about it, but this is how I feel. This is what I believe. I I really don't see it going anywhere good. I know I was just being positive. I'm positive and I'm optimistic about what, you know, we are just human beings. And it's almost like personification, that's not the right word, but it's like not a metaphor, but we need, and we can fix our childhood trauma at the same time we fix society, in that we have these things that are keeping us stuck, the social media and all this stuff that is a paradox of narcissism, and it can be, and it can be really easy to have blinders on in this society. We at one hand we have the communication, the access to information, the extreme awareness of our own minds. If you know, we're very selfish in that, we're very self-conscious, and that can create a better society. We have the tools, we have the ability, we have the emotional intelligence. We're very smart. We're much more smart emotionally than any other generation, I believe. But at the same time, with that, we have, you know, these temptations that we've never had more dopamine temptations, more things attacking our attention and need for attention, you know, the FOMO, all these things that are just creating this freaking toxic cesspool of attention whores. And here I am talking to myself, but like, you know what I mean? It's what is the value? I think that's the separator. What is the value that that someone's getting from your content? Is it just attention? Is it just entertainment? I don't know. Like, and now these things are blending between entertainment, finance. I caught myself in that, the finance. You know, I'm watching finance videos, but also all the time it's like, you know, when is it just I'm being entertained? You know, it's like not doing anything. You know, there's so many ways to just distract yourself. Anyway, I'm home. That was a huge tangent again. Narcissism, blah blah blah. I'm trying. Again, I'm gonna eventually do these videos inside, have more of a script written, and I'll be able to stay on task a little bit better. But for right now, I'm just, you know, this is mostly for me again, to get my thoughts out there and, you know, just be a guy on the internet that maybe somebody can relate to. Yeah, narcissism. I used to think it was just like selfishness, and it was not that big a deal. Obviously, I grew up with that stuff, and so it's hard to see the forest through the trees. But yeah, it's evil. It's actually evil. And it's an easy route, you know. I think about myself as a kid. There was a purity for a while until things started happening, and I could see myself slowly losing my sense of self, to the point where I completely lost it. And yeah, it's like it's easier to be a shell. It's easier to not be vulnerable. It's easier to treat people like objects. Objectification, right? That's narcissism for you. Everyone's a tool in your toolbox. You use people, and it's so evil. Not sacrifice any of your own, you know, happiness for anyone else. It's all about you, and it just creates so much, you know, it just gets worse and worse. I do believe that narcissism leads to sociopathy. I believe that. I think there's a spectrum of antisocial personality disorders, and you could start at just selfishness. You could start at literally self-conscious, because when you're self-conscious, you keep thinking about yourself. I have ADD. I have blah, 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 blah. I'm like, and it's very easy to be a victim-y, and then that's like narcissism, and then it's like BPD, and now you're just like this fucking mentally ill, sociopathy, and you're just, eventually you shut it all down. With enough trauma, enough people become cold, we're all going to be sociopaths. We're all going to be, the humanity is going to be stricken of us. There's going to be nothing left, and we're already getting there. I don't know. I think the way to fight back is just not the only way, but first of all, talking about it. Second of all, not accepting it from others or yourself. Calling it out. That's another thing. Especially with people that are more open-minded. I know when people would call me out, I'd be grateful. People say you're mumbling, or you're that, or the body language isn't enough sometimes. It's like, tell someone that they're being toxic. We have to, help each other. I think that's another tool we all have is, I feel like as we become more the same, i.e. with the algorithms and stuff, things can change like on a dime, and I don't know. I gotta get the hell in there. It's getting hot in here, but yeah, this one's about narcissism, but I think it's that's the beauty of the human condition, right? The more things are effed, the more things are screwed up, the more fulfilling it is to change, the more appreciate it. Like it's that roller coaster. The more you screw up your life, the better that come up is again. It's like, that's the whole human experience. Like, it would be shitty if it was just things we're doing, I think we need to remind ourselves of that. Like, bad times are like, it's a part of it. And that's where being a victim is bullshit, because it's literally, you're essentially telling the source, whatever, the universe, that you're better, you know better than the universe, better than, that's ego, that's, that victim shit. It's it's a very thin line between needing help and being a victim. Like, where is the line? How much help do you need? Anyway, tangential land. All right, we'll catch you guys later. Take care.